The silent invasion. The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of the Arxian flagship Dominion. High Commander Zex Toril stood with his 4 arms clasped behind his back, his scaled skin reflecting the light of distant stars. For 10,000 cycles, the Arxian Confederation had ruled the spiral arm of the galaxy with unquestioned authority. Their advanced technology, disciplined military, and ruthless efficiency had subjugated hundreds of species across thousands of worlds. "Report," Zex Toril commanded, his voice a low rumble that resonated through the command deck. "The observation period is complete, High Commander," his second-in-command replied, sliding a crystalline data tablet forward. "The beings of the third planet are primitive. They have basic spaceflight capabilities, but have barely ventured beyond their own lunar satellite. Their technology is rudimentary at best." Zex Toril's mouth curled into what passed for a smile among his species. "Excellent. They won't pose any resistance then. Their world is rich in resources we require, and their population will serve adequately in the labor colonies." The Arxian Confederation had encountered countless civilizations in their expansion. Some fought and were crushed. Others submitted willingly and were permitted to exist as vassals. But planets like Earth, rich in resources with a sufficiently advanced but ultimately defenseless population, were the most valuable discoveries of all. "Prepare the invasion fleet," Zex Toril ordered. "We will commence operations within 1 rotation. The humans will never know what hit them." Captain Alina Reyes squinted at the sensor readings on her console aboard the EDF Pathfinder. As commander of Earth's most advanced deep space reconnaissance vessel, she had seen her share of anomalies, but nothing like this. "Run the scan again, Torres," she ordered her sensor officer. "That can't be right." Lieutenant Torres frowned as she recalibrated the sensors. "Confirmed, Captain. The readings are accurate. We're detecting an enormous mass of objects on an intercept course with Earth. Based on their configuration and energy signatures, they appear to be vessels. Hundreds of them." Elena felt her stomach drop. Humanity had made contact with only a handful of alien species in the decades since achieving faster-than-light travel, and those encounters had been largely peaceful if somewhat condescending. The diplomatic corps often joked that humanity was seen as the galactic equivalent of a quaint backwater village, interesting to visit but hardly worth serious attention. "Can we identify them?" Elena asked, already knowing the answer. "Negative, Captain. The configuration doesn't match anything in our database." Elena made her decision instantly. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We need to warn the Defense Council immediately." As the Pathfinder accelerated to FTL speeds, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Humanity had always assumed they were relatively insignificant in the grand cosmic scheme. Perhaps that had been a dangerous assumption. The Earth Defense Council chamber was in chaos when Elena finished her briefing. Representatives from every major nation shouted over one another as the holographic display showed the approaching armada. "This is impossible," the Chinese representative exclaimed. "Our deep space monitoring network should have detected a fleet this size. They appear to be using some form of stealth technology," Elena explained. "We only detected them because the Pathfinder happened to be conducting tests on our new quantum sensing array." Admiral Jackson, head of the Earth Defense Force, stood up. His weathered face was grim. "How long do we have?" "Less than 72 hours before they reach Earth orbit," Elena replied. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. Earth's combined military might consisted of a few dozen space-capable warships, most designed for patrolling the solar system rather than engaging in full-scale combat with an advanced alien armada. "We need to evacuate as many civilians as possible to the underground shelters," someone suggested. "And then what?" Another voice countered. "Wait to be conquered." Admiral Jackson cleared his throat. "There is one option." All eyes turned to him. "Project Hammerfall," he said quietly. The EDF Secretary General's eyes widened. "That's still experimental. We don't even know if it will work. It's all we have, Jackson insisted. Captain Rice, you're one of the few people with clearance to know about this. The EDF has been developing alternative defense capabilities for the past decade. Capabilities we've kept hidden, not just from the public, but from most of the galactic community as well. Elena stared at him in disbelief. Sir, the Arcturus shipyards, Jackson continued. They're not just research facilities as we've led everyone to believe. They're production facilities. We've been building a fleet. The chamber erupted again, but this time in stunned disbelief rather than panic. How is that possible? Elena demanded. The resources required, the personnel. We've had help, Jackson admitted. Not all species out there view humanity as primitives. Some see potential in us. They've provided assistance. So we have a secret fleet, the Secretary General said slowly. But is it enough to stop an invasion of this magnitude? Jackson's expression was unreadable. I guess we're about to find out. Aboard the Dominion, Zextoral reviewed the final invasion plans with satisfaction. The primitive planetary defenses would be neutralized in the first wave. By the second wave, they would secure all major population centers. The third wave would establish processing facilities to begin resource extraction and population cataloging for labor assignment. High Commander, his aide interrupted, we're entering the outer boundary of their solar system. Excellent. Maintain stealth protocols until we reach optimal strike position. Sir, another officer called out, we're detecting energy signatures ahead. Zextoral frowned. The humans have no significant orbital defenses according to our intelligence. These readings are substantial, High Commander. Multiple signatures arranged in what appears to be a defensive formation. Impossible, Zextoral snapped. Display visual. The massive view screen shifted, and for the first time in his long career, Zextoral felt something akin to surprise. Ahead of them, silhouetted against the blue-green orb of Earth, was a fleet. Not the handful of primitive vessels they had expected, but hundreds of warships in perfect battle formation. The design was unlike anything in their records. Sleek, angular vessels with pulsing blue energy signatures along their hulls. Where did they come from? He demanded. How did we not know about this? Before his officers could respond, the communications array chimed. They're hailing us, High Commander. On screen. Zextoral ordered, his mind racing to recalculate their strategy. The screen filled with the image of a human male in a crisp dark uniform adorned with symbols of rank. His expression was calm, almost serene. This is Admiral Marcus Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet, the human said without preamble. You are entering sovereign Earth space with what appears to be hostile intent. I suggest you reconsider. Zextoral refused to show his surprise. This is High Commander Zextoral of the Arxian Confederation. Your species has been selected for integration into our dominion. Surrender your vessels and prepare your population for processing. The human's expression didn't change. I'm afraid that won't be possible, High Commander. No one was meant to arrive in our system unannounced. Yet here you are. And since you've come this far, you should know that humanity doesn't surrender. Not today. Not ever. The transmission cut, and Zextoral stared at the blank screen in momentary confusion. Then he noticed something changing in the formation of human ships. They were shifting, realigning into an offensive posture. The forward vessels' hulls were opening, revealing weapon ports that now glowed with building energy. Defensive positions, Zextoral shouted. All ships, raise shields and prepare to engage. But it was too late. The human fleet opened fire, and the void of space erupted in brilliant light as energy weapons tore through the forward vessels of the Arxian invasion force. Ships that had conquered 100 worlds began to rupture and explode. No one had expected humanity to be ready. No one had expected humanity to be powerful. No one had expected humanity to fight back with such ferocity. And yet, the war for Earth had begun, and humanity's war fleet stood tall against the stars. Defiance of the stars. The first volley from Earth's defense fleet tore through the vanguard of the Arxian armada like a scythe through wheat. Vessels that had participated in the subjugation of countless worlds were reduced to expanding clouds of debris in moments. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Marcus Chen watched the tactical display with calculated calm. Around him, officers called out status reports as the battle unfolded in the darkness of space. Forward squadrons report successful first strikes, his executive officer announced. Arxian fleet is attempting to regroup. Chen nodded. They're surprised. They expected sheep and found wolves instead. Press the advantage. Have Phoenix and Valkyrie squadrons execute flanking maneuvers. Let's keep them off balance. On the main screen, the Earth Defense Fleet moved with precision that spoke of extensive training and preparation. Ships designated as Thunderbolts darted between larger Arxian vessels, their point defense systems leaving trails of destruction. Heavier Judgment-class battleships delivered devastating broadsides that overwhelmed the enemy's shields. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Captain Rice aboard the Pathfinder." "Put her through," Chen ordered. The Lena's face appeared on a secondary screen. "Admiral, we've analyzed the Arxian command structure from our initial scans. Their fleet operates on a highly centralized control system. If we can neutralize their flagship, we might be able to throw their entire operation into disarray." Chen considered this. "That's a high-risk operation, Captain. Their flagship will be at the center of their defensive formation by now. The Pathfinder has the stealth capabilities to get close enough," Elena insisted. "We were designed for reconnaissance behind enemy lines. Let us do what we were built for." After a moment's consideration, Chen nodded. "Approved. But you'll need tactical support to create a diversion." "Thank you, sir," Elena replied, her expression determined. As the transmission ended, Chen turned back to the battle display. The Arxians were recovering from their initial shock, bringing their superior numbers to bear. The early advantage was fading. "It's time for Phase 2, Chen announced. "Deploy the Nemesis platforms." High Commander Zex Toril seethed with rage as damage reports flooded in. A third of his invasion force had been destroyed or disabled in the opening minutes of the battle. How had the humans acquired such technology? Their weapons were causing damage they shouldn't be capable of inflicting. "Reconfigure to defensive pattern Epsilon," he ordered. "Concentrate our forces and prepare a coordinated counterattack." His tactical officer looked up from his station. "High Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures deploying from Earth's lunar surface." "Explain," Zex Toril demanded. "They appear to be automated weapons platforms, dozens of them, activating in sequence." Before Zex Toril could respond, new alerts sounded across the command deck. The lunar-based platforms had begun firing, not traditional energy weapons, but some form of gravitational disruption that tore at the very fabric of space around his ships. Vessels caught in the effect found their shields collapsing as space itself warped around them. "Impossible," Zex Toril whispered. "That technology is beyond even the most advanced species we've encountered." His science officer approached cautiously. "High Commander, I've been analyzing their weapon signatures. They bear similarities to progenitor technology." The command deck fell silent. The progenitors were a mythical race said to have seeded the galaxy with life millions of years ago before mysteriously vanishing. Their technology was the stuff of legend, sought after by every spacefaring civilization. How could these primitives possibly possess progenitor technology? Zex Toril demanded. As if in answer, a subordinate called out, "Sir, we're detecting a small vessel approaching our position. It appears to be using some form of advanced stealth technology." Zex Toril's eyes narrowed. "Destroy it immediately." But the human vessel was moving too quickly, darting between the larger ships of his fleet, evading fire with impossible precision. It was on a direct course for the Dominion. The Lena Rays gripped the arms of her command chair as the Pathfinder dodged another barrage of enemy fire. The ship's enhanced inertial dampeners struggled to compensate for the extreme maneuvers. "Status of the package," she asked her weapons officer. "Primed and ready, Captain. We need to get within 500 meters of their command ship to ensure penetration of their shields." Elena nodded grimly. The package was a quantum disruptor, a device reverse-engineered from the technology recovered from a crashed alien vessel in the Antarctic decade ago. The same discovery that had prompted Earth's leaders to begin secretly preparing for a day they hoped would never come. "3 Arxian interceptors on our tail," Torres reported tensely. "Execute pattern Omega," Elena ordered. "Divert all non-essential power to the stealth systems." The Pathfinder responded instantly, its engines briefly flaring before the ship seemed to fade from view. It wasn't true invisibility, more like a technological sleight of hand that confounded enemy targeting systems. "We're approaching optimal range," the helmsman announced. 15 seconds. Elena opened a channel to all hands. "This is the captain. Brace for impact and prepare for emergency extraction protocols." The Pathfinder slipped beneath the massive bulk of the Arxian flagship, its sensors identifying the vessel's power core. "Deploy the package," Elena ordered. A small, unassuming device detached from the Pathfinder's hull, attaching itself to the underside of the Dominion. There was no explosion, no dramatic effect, just a soft pulse of blue energy that rippled across the flagship's hull. Package successfully deployed. Effects beginning. Now. Aboard the Dominion, systems began failing in cascade. Power fluctuations raced through the ship, shields flickered, and weapons went offline. "What's happening?" Zex Toril demanded as the command deck plunged into emergency lighting. "Unknown, High Commander. Some form of quantum-level disruption is affecting all systems. It's as if the laws of physics are being locally rewritten." Zex Toril staggered as the artificial gravity wavered. Across his fleet, commanders were reporting similar effects spreading from ship to ship, carried by their linked command protocols. The very centralized system that had been their strength now becoming their greatest vulnerability. "Sever all connections to the fleet network," he ordered. "Isolate all systems." But it was too late. The disruption had infected the fleet's command architecture. Ships were losing power, drifting out of formation, weapons systems cycling randomly between active and inactive states. And through this chaos, the human fleet advanced methodically, targeting the disabled vessels with surgical precision. Zex Toril knew defeat when he saw it. For the first time in his long career, he gave an order he never thought possible. "All remaining vessels, initiate emergency withdrawal protocols. Retreat to fallback coordinates immediately." As the surviving Arxian ships began to disengage, frantically jumping to faster-than-light speeds, Zex Toril stood alone on his crippled command deck. The humans had not only stood against the might of the Confederation, they had prevailed. Admiral Chen watched as the remnants of the Arxian fleet fled from Earth space. Of the original invasion force, less than half had escaped. The rest were destroyed or disabled, drifting harmlessly in space where they would eventually be captured for study. "The Pathfinder is returning, sir," his XO reported. "Captain Rice reports mission successful." Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Send my congratulations, and prepare a full battle assessment. I want to know exactly how effective our preparations were." "Sir," another officer approached, "we're receiving transmission requests from virtually every government on Earth. They're demanding explanations about the fleet." Chen sighed. The secret was out. For a decade, humanity had been preparing in the shadows, building a fleet and weapons that no one was supposed to know about. They had recovered technology from a crashed alien scout ship and used it to leap centuries ahead in development, all while maintaining the facade of being a relatively primitive species. "Tell them I'll address the United Nations Security Council in 1 hour," Chen replied. "It's time humanity knew the truth about our place in the galaxy." 3 months later, Elena stood at the observation deck of the newly commissioned EDF Defiance, watching Earth recede into the distance. As one of the heroes of what was now called the Battle of Earth, She had been given command of humanity's first official diplomatic mission to the wider galactic community. Admiral Chen joined her at the viewport. Having second thoughts, Captain. Elena shook her head. No, sir. Just reflecting on how quickly everything has changed. 6 months ago, most of humanity didn't even believe alien life existed. Now we're establishing embassies on a dozen worlds. The Arxian Confederation has dominated this sector for millennia, Chen said. Their defeat at Earth has sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Many species they subjugated are now looking to us as potential allies. And enemies, Elena added. The Arxians won't take this humiliation lightly. Chen nodded. Which is why we continue to build, to prepare. The Battle of Earth wasn't the end of something, Captain. It was the beginning. As the Defiance accelerated to faster than light speed, Elena thought about the message they were carrying to the stars. Humanity was no longer an insignificant backwater species to be conquered or ignored. They had stood against one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy and prevailed. No one had expected humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. No one had anticipated their strength, their resourcefulness, their fierce determination to survive and thrive among the stars. But now, everyone knew. Humanity's war fleet stood tall, and the galaxy would never be the same again.